Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Khushamdeed. Jiayanu. Goeiemorgen.
Pakhairagele, ni hao, Jurashumme, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Ola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifahal, Halishama Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan Marhaba, Buna, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very amazing, the very talented Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you on a Wednesday morning where it rained earlier in the morning too as well?
Oh, I feel so great. I absolutely love rain. But there are people, who actually say, I actually came across people yesterday who said, we hate rain, especially in the winter. What are you people? I love rain in any season. What about you? How's your morning?
Well, my morning was perfect too as well. I think I'm just kind of fighting back with winters too as well because earlier in the morning it is very hard to get out of your quilt, probably make your mind and go to probably take a shower. So what I did was I've done. I mean, I think I was very clever in doing that. So the jacket I was wearing last night, I took it off. I kept it right next to my pillow so that next morning when I wake up, I'll just wear the jacket and run to the washroom. So this is what I did. Very sorry for the minute details too as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we are getting started today as well. We want you all to keep yourself warm as well because we really do not want any of our viewer or any of our loved ones to fall sick as well. So let's get started with
the top stories for the hour. But before that, there's just one thing that we need to discuss.
go ahead.
Random acts of kindness. This is actually something that I'm inspired by Shahzad, to be honest, because I watched this post on his social media yesterday. So kindness is a precious most virtue that a man can possess.
Yeah,
And I think
or a
we all
woman.
agree. Yeah, I mean, a man or a woman
it's
can possess.
not just only for us.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
can possess. And especially when you're kind to someone without expecting a reward, that is the divine most feeling, I feel like.
Exactly.
And so for every one of you out there, because I know Shahzad did this yesterday and I should do it every day as well, be kind to another for, without expecting a reward in return, because then that is not kindness act if you are actually expecting someone to do the same for you.
Exactly. And
So
it's,
what was the post that you shared?
and it's very simple. I'm definitely going to come back to the post. I mean, for example, opening a door for somebody or, leaving a space for somebody to sit. I think these are the simple things. So with us, what happens most of the times, ladies and gentlemen, is that, for example, whenever we're riding in a group on our bikes, so obviously there are a lot of bike enthusiasts which unfortunately have not been able to purchase a bike for themselves. So they come and they, I've seen that a lot of riders actually refuse these people to not to take pictures or not to sit on the bike because, they're unaware of the fact that the machines are really hot and the silences are really hot so they can burn themselves.
Right.
So they have their own thing. But I've seen a lot of people, because this happened to me, so I do not let this happen to anybody else. So once I was in UK, probably 4 months ago,
Okay.
and there was this fabulous, amazing Harley Davidson's parked by the side of the road, and I was kind of trying to take pictures alongside the bike, and all of a sudden this white guy rushes into me and says, "Hey, nobody touches my bike." And I kind of felt it that, okay, I've got my bike back home too as well. We do
Exactly.
not talk like this. So then the gentleman actually, said that you cannot take pictures over here. And then I felt bad. And then I felt bad for all of those people, for example, who actually go up to the riders and say that, can we take pictures? So that was just one random act of kindness that one guy was sitting and I was taking his picture with his own cell phone.
And I'm very proud of you because you made them feel good without even knowing that you're doing such
Exactly,
a good
and then he asked for my shades too as well, which I denied in the first place, but then I was like, okay, you can wear them too. So you can play around a little bit, but please make sure that you look after people who love you too as well.
Absolutely. So now let's take a look at the top stories for the hour. Prime Minister Imran Khan stresses need for respecting each other's religions and sentiments, calls for enhanced dialogue as well as cooperation for promoting intercultural and interfaith harmony.
Wow, that's nice. Moving on, where Prime Minister Imran Khan stresses need for focusing on including private sector in various projects of defense production in order to get full benefit from the available capability of sector. World Diabetes Day is the primary global awareness campaign focusing on diabetes mellitus and is held on 14 November each year. Led by the International Diabetes Federation, IDF, each World Diabetes Day focuses on a theme related to diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is largely preventable and treatable non-communicable disease that is rapidly increasing in numbers worldwide.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is actually what we're talking about today. What Shazad just told us today is World Diabetes Day, and it is being observed all around the globe. So before we dig into the conversation, let's have a very small break. We will be right back with you. Stay tuned to PTV World. Good morning.
Exactly. Good morning.
आज वर्ल्ड डायबिटीज़ डे है और हम इसमें खूब बोलेंगे। खैर मेरी बात अभी भी नहीं।
टाइप 1 की थी।
It's okay, अगर आप प्लीज इसको दोबारा
अच्छा मेरा कैमरा कौन सा, हमें यहाँ देखना होगा, ये फ्रंट वाले पे?
conversation करते हुए तो हम आपस में, लेकिन जब मैसेज देना होगा तो फिर वो
हम फ्रंट पे देखेंगे, ठीक है।
Type 1 is not preventable and is actually treated by insulin. So
यस, वो एक्चुअली है ही इंसुलिन डिपेंडेंट।
और प्लस वो थोड़ी सी ज़्यादा मैनेजेबल
और दो ही टाइप्स होती हैं बस।
नहीं ज़्यादा टाइप्स
नहीं, ब्रॉडली 4 कैटेगरीज में कैटेगराइज।
लेकिन टाइप 2 के बारे में तो लिखा हुआ है कि ये लार्जली प्रिवेंटेबल होती है।
प्रिवेंटेबल है। टाइप 1 इज ऑफ कोर्स आपको इंसुलिन लेनी है थ्रू योर लाइफ। इट्स लाइक हैविंग अ पेंशन आउटसाइड योर बॉडी। यू हैव टू टेक एन इंजेक्शन राइट बिफोर यू लीव।
Somebody was cracking this joke. Do you understand Punjabi?
yeah.
8 नंबर चेक
पेट पे
करें।
जलेबियां रख के कहता है मेरी आंकड़ें बाहर आ गई। माइक नंबर 5, माइक नंबर 8। मैं रिकॉर्डिंग वाले की पहले देखने लगा फिर मैंने यार कंफ्यूज हो गया फिर पहले वाले भी रहते। इसलिए तो रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहे हैं। नहीं वो क्योंकि वो कहते हैं हम समझ नहीं आ सकते। जी डॉक्टर साहिबा प्लीज से समथिंग।
माइक नंबर 5 इज वर्किंग और नॉट?
8.
माइक नंबर 8, ओके, वी हैव स्विच्ड टू माइक नंबर 8। फाइन।
Dr. Anam?
World Diabetes Day it is.
Shirley ji.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PT World, you watch your world this morning, alongside Shiza Hashmi and Shazad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, it's 14th of November. The day is Wednesday. It rained over here in Islamabad. We established that prior to going towards the break. But other than that, 14 November holds a very important position. It's because of the fact that it's World Diabetes Day, ladies and gentlemen, where we're definitely going to pick up on different issues and how to probably change your lifestyle according to your disease. That's something which we'll definitely talk about. What happens, when do people really need insulin? When do people do not need insulin? Because there are different types of diabetes, type 1, type 2, and it's probably categorized into 4 different types. So talking about type 1, ladies and gentlemen, is not preventable, unfortunately. I wanted to give it away in a very good usage of jargon too as well, but I think that, you know, the clearer you are, the better it is for people to understand that how their life will be changing over the course of time.
Right, and especially when we're talking about diabetes, it is one of the most commonly occurring diseases across the globe. Right. And 27% of the population in Pakistan is actually suffering from diabetes, which is, you know, reported or diagnosed, let's say. And 422 to 25 million people across the globe are actually suffering from diabetes. Imagine that. And, you know, so this basically starts when there's a hormone insulin, which is produced in your body. So when the body stops producing,
Go ahead.
So when the body stops producing insulin, or you know cannot manage to balance the production of insulin, is actually when you start having diabetes.
Or let me guess. I think when the cells are unable to absorb the glucose and convert it into energy.
So that's what
diabetes.
insulin does. It deals with glucose, right?
Exactly.
Breaking and distributing it.
So we all know it now. So let's get started. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll definitely talk about different types. But we were lucky enough that we have a very brave, amazing lady over here in the studio who herself happens to be a psychologist, is a diabetic patient. She's going to tell us about her life. But I wanted to talk about diabetes in adolescents and kids too as well. Because I know a lot of people, you know, who've got younger brothers or sisters and they're suffering from diabetes. What are the causes? What are the reasons? And then other than that, one of the very most common problem is that, for example, if somebody suffers from diabetes, I think that their immune system does not work on the same capacity as it was working earlier.
Right.
So you get different skin issues. For example, you know, while walking in the room, you know, you hit your toe into the bed corner. I know it hurts a lot, but other than that, you know, these little problems, you know, can be a bigger problem for a person who's actually suffering from diabetes, or most famously known as sugar, over here in Pakistan as well. But to talk about all of these issues, you want to say something?
Yeah, I actually forgot what I was about to say, but yeah. Oh yeah, when we're talking about, you know, how skin sort of relates to diabetes as well. When you're not diagnosed yet, you can actually tell by occurrences on your skin. Maybe, you know, I was just talking to this dermatologist we have over here in the studio just before the show, and she mentioned that some parts of your skin start getting darker, or, you know, they have a different texture than usual skin. That is how you can actually identify in yourself or people that you see that maybe they have signs of diabetes.
Yeah, and alongside that, there's one thing which I remember too as well, just because you mentioned it, and that is that, you know, whenever, ladies and gentlemen, we talk about diabetes, over here in Pakistan, there's this problem too as well, and that is that they say when you inject insulin, you know, you can eat whatever you want. Now, this is something which I want to bust. I mean, I think it's a myth. You cannot probably just go out and eat all the laddus and sweets and whatever you feel like.
Right.
I think there needs to be discipline. There needs to be changes within your lifestyle, and other than that, it's not just the skin. It's the kidneys, it's the lungs. Diabetes affect every part of your body, and God forbid, if you do not know about it, you can even have heart attack because of diabetes. So please make sure that you look after yourself. But to discuss all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined with some very apt guests on my right-hand side. She's been a regular on the show too as well. She's a consultant dermatologist as well. She's none other than Dr. Noreen Sarfaraz. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam. Good morning, Shahzad and Shiza. Good morning, Pakistan. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Pakistan says wa alaikum assalam, and so do
Good
Shiza.
to hear that.
Very nice. And alongside Dr. Noreen, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by a consultant psychologist, and there's this corporate social responsibility side to her too as well. She's none other than Dr. Anam Khan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, and I hope that you all are doing good, and a happy World Diabetes Day to all the diabetics out there and to non-diabetics too. Thank you.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure whether we should be saying Happy World Diabetes Day or not. But
Because we're
World
accepting
Diabetes
that
Day, it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're observing it. But I'm going to get my conversation started with Dr. Anam. So you yourself are suffering from, or is suffering from diabetes.
Yes.
How did you get to know first things first that mujhe yaar sugar ho gayi hai, khuda na khasta.
all right.
And then how did you come over that milestone कि भाई अब
Right.
इसको कुछ तो करना
And
है?
how did you
do that?
react?
Well, initially when I was diagnosed, it was
Or what
diagnosed-
happened previously? You know,
Alright.
you know, what were the physical changes you were
Okay.
witnessing that this is happening?
So that was a time back in 2014 that I was losing my weight, and I was going through some frequent urination and allergies too, and then I finally led it into coma. So this is how this was very dramatic, I know. So this is how I was diagnosed, and then I survived. So that is a basic thing, that we are the survivors. So then after that, I was told that I'm a diabetic, and not to forget that this is a celebrity disease because of C. Makram is suffering from it, and Fawad Khan and some international celebrities too. So I think it was like for 3 minutes that I was down, and I was sort of crying. And then I realized that fine, this is a condition that I have to live with.
Right,
And
right.
now I have to think towards that how I'm going to accept it. So yes, like you said, the first thing we have to do being diabetics, or when you're going to be suffering from some chronic illness, that you have to accept this fact that this is my condition. I have to own it. And right from the beginning, now I have to look forward that now how can I adapt simpler things into my life that I can make my condition better.
Sorry,
So,
Dr. Anam, I have to
yeah.
cut you here, but when we are talking about acceptance,
Yes.
you mentioned that, you know, there was just a little time when you felt like you shouldn't have this. But for a lot of people around the globe, the denial phase is very prolonged.
It is.
They're not ready to accept the fact that, you know, actually this has happened to us. They have to live with the
is,
condition.
yeah.
So how to cope up with that?
Well, sometimes we do need some professional help. So I'm really happy that I'm a psychologist myself.
Yeah.
So I try to manage, and plus I have a very good support network around me. So I
Right.
have my friends, I have my family who has supported me. And other than that, I would like to mention the role of my organization, that is a charitable organization, Meethi Zindagi.
Okay.
And that is being founded by Dr. Sana Ajmal, who's a type 1 herself, and she was the president of IDF, International Diabetes Foundation. So we work for diabetics. We work primarily for type 1 and then for type 2 too.
Okay.
But the main focus is on educating type 1 that how you can manage. Like you were saying that we cannot go out and eat laddus and everything. So I would just like to mention here that I just had pete ka halwa over the weekend.
Okay,
So
but
what
we
I
should
did-
come back to
yeah,
Meethi Zindagi
sure,
because I
yeah.
want to talk about it in detail.
Yeah,
But Dr. Noreen, can you tell us about the initial symptoms that can actually tell us or maybe diagnose diabetes if it exists?
Okay, there are some clinical signs and symptoms. If you are having that, then one can have a rough estimate that you are having some disease which might be diabetes. Like you have increased thirst and increased urination, and there is unexplained weight loss. All of a sudden, you just notice your clothes have become loosened and they don't fit you anymore. You have weakness, irritability, you have mood swings as well. And sometimes when the sugar levels are raised so high, you might have bit ketone breath in your smell in your breath. Like it's like bit sweetish odor. Yeah, and then it again is depends if you are hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic. So these are very dangerous conditions. These are two extremes of a range. If you are having a hypoglycemic condition, then you might have sweating and fatigue, and you may become a bit shaky, and it might be due to trauma or due to any accident. Then almost all of the glucose at that time is utilized, and you are having deficient of the insulin. So you are facing that condition at that time, which might be dangerous if you are not aware of it, or if someone is not helping you in your vicinity. So I personally believe that persons in your vicinity should know that you are suffering from diabetes, because in that condition someone can give you sugar to eat or some energetic drink to drink, so you can feel better at that way. But on the other side of the scale, if you are having so high sugar levels, then you might have a fever, you might have palpitations and irritability again. Then you might need to consult the doctor again as well for that extreme condition treatment as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to add something?
Yeah, she's so right about it. In type 1, you need to carry your hypo kit all the time with you, because in case
can
of
you
severe
explain the
hypo-
types for us as well?
So we have type 1, type 2, and then we have almost 4 types. So in type 1, you're totally insulin dependent. That means, like I said, that you have your pancreas outside your body. You have to take your insulin maybe 4 times a day or 5 times. It depends upon your prescription. So along with that, what you have to do is that in type 2, you're going to be prescribed by some medicine, that is metformin or something else. So there are other types too. But type 1 is a basic type in which you need most of the education, and you need to be really regular in monitoring your sugar levels. Mostly this is being told that you have to monitor your sugar levels right before your meal, maybe 4 times or 8 times, or before when you're going to do some exercise or something. Why? Because if you have higher sugar levels, you are not allowed to do exercise.
All right, and then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one very interesting thing to share with you guys, and that is that, as Dr. Anna mentioned about Meethi Zindagi, so a group of all of the supporters and the support group, actually, they took this initiative where they took all of these people. I don't know whether everybody was suffering from diabetes or not, but everybody was. So they took them to Karachi for scuba diving as just to share that we are there for you no matter what happens, whether it's the deepest sea or the highest mountain.
And
I
you
think
can
people
do
can
it.
all do that.
Being a diabetic, still you can do it.
Right, you can live
have
your
to
life
put
like
the-
Yeah,
normal
so
people
go ahead
are.
and tell us about your experience. Why did you do that? Why scuba diving?
All right, so scuba diving is something, we all have that fear of water. We all have that fear that what if my sugar levels are going to be raised or they're going to be really low? So how I'm going to manage it? So initially, me, myself, I was a bit apprehensive about it. But then that was something which I genuinely surpassed, and we did it. Most of us, we were diabetics, and then we had our families too with us. So it was an amazing experience, and it was totally worth taking the risk. I would say it was the most beautiful experience of my life, and I'm really happy that I'm part of this Meethi family.
And I think that I'm going to relate to that too as well, because I kind of talk to people about going to gym as well, that you know it's great and whatnot. And so what happens in the gym is that you, for example, you have to lift like 80 kgs of weight on your chest. You forget about everything.
Exactly.
So when you were 20 feet deep down in the water, I don't think that you could even remember about being a diabetic too as well.
Exactly.
You were
I
like, "Oh,
didn't
what's
want to
happening
come
over
back,
here?"
actually. That was the biggest thing, that I didn't want to come back, that I want to stay here for a bit longer.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience. So I would suggest that diabetic or non-diabetic, just live your life and be a survivor and take challenges in your life. Be a risk taker.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
that's great.
Shehzad, I would like to
Sure.
add, in fact, elaborate the types
Sure,
of the
sure, sure,
diabetes
sure.
as well. We loosely categorize the diabetes into four categories.
Yeah.
First one is the type 1 diabetes, that is having juvenile onset.
And it's
That's
non-preventable.
mostly seen in the young people, and it's mostly related to the genetic allele, some disturbance, that HLA-DR3, 4, and it's related to auto-antibodies which are formed in our body.
But can it be because of the hereditary reasons too as well?
Yeah, it can be. And the second type is type 2 diabetes that has adult onset and that's non-insulin dependent.
But
Type 1 is insulin dependent,
Yeah,
while
yeah.
type 2 is non-insulin dependent.
Yeah,
You
but they
take-
say the type 2 is preventable too as well. How is it
that
preventable?
is preventable by taking proper care of your diet, by controlling your sugar levels and doing a good exercise. And you have to just add a good fiber and proteinaceous diet and low your carbs, refined diet, saturated fats, so you can maintain it at a very good level. And the third category, which is of diabetes, is the gestational diabetes, which most of the females acquire during the pregnancy, and sometimes it prevails even after the pregnancy, or sometimes it just get well after the delivery. And the fourth type is secondary diabetes that has no cause, that's known as idiopathic diabetes. So how we acquire diabetes? Diabetes is a disease in which blood sugar level are raised, and glucose is taken from the food. Insulin is the hormone that is produced by the pancreas, and that helps the glucose to enter into the cells to generate energy. So if that insulin is defective, is not produced enough by the pancreas, then you acquire the diabetes. Or if it's not produced enough just to fulfill your requirements, then again you acquire the type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also,
I totally get that. But very sorry, but I just want to move on to Dr. Anumam here. So now for a person who's actually living with diabetes, what kind of a day does he or she goes through? I mean, lethargic, no energy, lazy, lying down everywhere. So what happens?
Well, this is, I would say, I have to say this, it's a sort of a myth.
Okay.
Because this is what we talk about. If we know that if he or she is a diabetic, we are going to say that fine, so now you have to face all these symptoms throughout your life. So this isn't the case. If you have good sugar levels, if you have maintained your sugar levels, plus if you have a good HbA1c, which we recommend that you should have after every 3 months, just to know that how your sugar levels are going. So I don't think so that it's true.
Okay.
So if you are monitoring your sugar levels, if you are having right diet, right food, if you're doing the carb count thing, if you know your dosage, what I have to do, how much do I have to take the insulin, so it isn't the case
But since
actually.
we're talking about pancreas, so does it even affect your metabolism?
Yes, it
It does.
Yes,
It does.
Yeah, so what happens, and then how do we conquer that too as well?
Just I mentioned previously, there are two metabolic conditions associated with the diabetes, in which one is the hyperosmolar state and one is the hypoosmolar state.
I do not know about any
Okay,
of these.
let me
Yeah.
explain you then.
Yeah, yeah.
In
One
similar
is,
words.
I just told you that people have extremely low glucose levels. For example, you're a sports person and you're doing sports, and all of a sudden your energy level might fall down, your glucose level might fall down because of the fear or the energy utilized that time, or the
Wasim Akram used to go
type of
after
the work
every
you are
over
doing.
to inject insulin here.
He's such an inspiration for all of us, and he was diagnosed diabetes at the age of 29.
Yes.
And mashallah, he just coped up with his career and in his disease. He managed his diet plan and workout in such a way that mashallah, he's so successful. And
And he's
he's
fit.
living a very healthy
Yeah,
life.
and he's
Yes.
fit, yes. I think this is one thing which we need to realize too as well, that God forbid if, a disease like this happens to you, please make sure that you try to fight back. I mean, people just gave up high.
One should just keep on jumping the hurdles one after the other, because
Yeah.
it's not just the end of the life. One has to face it and one has to live with it.
So with that, yeah,
I would like to add one thing. We don't take it as a disease. It's a condition that you have to live with. It's just that you can eat whatever you want with the right portion control and doing the carb count. You just have to know that how much carbohydrates are in this thing, and then you can eat it with the correction dosage. So it's not a disease, it's a condition actually.
So it's just that you have to actually tell yourself that, you know, I can probably do that, make a schedule, and you just have to go about that. It's just that you cannot avoid the timetable or skip it or the schedule you've made, because otherwise it's going to have an impact on your health.
I would like to add on it that diabetes do affect the quality of the life. Now, what is the quality of the life?
And I'm very sorry that I'm interjecting, ladies and gentlemen. We always like guests where we do not have to ask questions. They answer
just keep going.
themselves. Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's such an interesting
Yeah.
topic, and especially today's diabetic days, so we should impart maximum awareness among all the people so they can
Go
have
ahead,
idea on it.
go ahead.
So what is quality of the life? Quality of life is a state in which you are satisfied and happy with your prevailing condition related to the health or anything else which is prevailing in your life. So quality of life is very much impacted through the diabetes. People go first in the denial phase. Like if you are diagnosed with the type 1 diabetes, then you have no, how can I have in such a young age? And people say, no, you are just a kid, you're so
It's not
young.
even possible.
It's not possible. We know someone who acquired it in such an old age. It can't be, the doctor might have misdiagnosed it, and there must be something wrong.
We'll go to another
They
laboratory
go-
to get it
yes,
tested.
they go in a denial phase,
Yeah.
and they are not able to cope with it. Then at that time you need a family support with you, your friends, your family. They should make you understand that you are not alone and this is the condition, and you can keep up with it, and you can live a very normal healthy life just to have a VIP lifestyle. I just call it a VIP lifestyle. You know, you just maintain portions of your food, you do regular workout, you drink a lot of water, and you just keep good care of yourself. So it's a VIP lifestyle. And then if they go into depression, then the whole family is affected. For that, definitely you have to consult a psychologist as well for the condition. So there you have the counseling sessions as well, so you can cope up with the difficulties, your careers. Like it's not the end of the world. One should learn how to face it.
Right, and Dr. Anam, since you are a psychologist,
Yes.
like I'm pretty sure a lot of times a lot of diabetic patients come to you and you counsel them.
Yep.
So what sort of issues are they facing? I mean, psychologically, are they, we know the fact that it is very hard to accept that you probably have to
is.
live for your whole life with this condition.
Yes.
But how do you counsel them? I mean, what do you tell them?
Okay, so I'll totally second her thoughts, because the thing is that the first thing is acceptance, and I know many of clients who are not even taking insulin. Why? Because they haven't accepted yet that I have to take it. So what happens is that is the case where their health is going to deteriorate. So the first step is I'm sort of diabetic counselor too, since I'm working for this organization and I'm serving this diabetics and type 1s. Whatever they needed is that education or the psychological counseling. So yes, number one, you have to accept this fact, and you can take your time for that. But you have to take your insulin shot too along with that. You can take your time to accept that, fine, these are my pancreas, I have to take insulin, I have to afford it too. But you have to accept this factor too, so that we offer counseling. We often organize some sort of events. They are like D-treats. They are diabetic treats where you can meet. You can tell each other. You can share your stories, but not
Have
bad
dark
stories.
chocolate together.
Yeah, exactly. But not bad story, because most of the time we used to hear that being diabetic, you're going to face this. So no, we have to motivate them. We have to show the positivity towards life. So we
Also,
tell them.
I'm sorry I'm cutting you off, but I want you to add to this as well. There are a lot of people we all know that who cannot afford to have insulin.
Yes.
You know, whenever they need.
That's where Meethi
Yes.
Zindagi comes in.
Yeah,
Yes,
how?
totally.
Yeah, please tell us about
So
that.
we work on provision of insulin to underprivileged children, and I would like to use your platform for this, for all your viewers it is, that please do recommend or do refer children to us who cannot afford insulin. We have this project, provision of insulin, where we also provide free consultation. You can go and have your consultation without any cost with the doctor. We can provide you free sugar strips so that you can better monitor your sugar levels. So we would like to hear from people, from your reference or from anyone who is watching us, that Meethi Zindagi is there to help you. Our objective is to educate our patients, not just patients, our clients in type 1 and type 2.
Do we have any email addresses or websites?
We are on Facebook.
Yeah.
We are on Facebook,
So it's
and plus we have our website.
MEETHIZINDAGR.
I think we
Perfect,
all
yes.
should join our hand for this noble and global
And the
cause.
logo, the tagline which we have is Meethi Zindagi, Mithas Sabke Liye, a happy life besides being a
Meethi
diabetic.
Zindagi Mithas Sabke Liye.
Such a
I
great
like it. I
initiative.
like it because you know I think in life it is more important to have a sweet life than having a sweet taste. I think this is more better. because for me, having good life, I think, is very important. But other than that, now I'm going to come down to what your area is all about, and that is dermatology. And a lot of people are affected by diabetes, and then they have these problems on their skins. So I'm going to start with what are the most common problems people face, God forbid, if they're suffering from diabetes. Let's start from that. And then the second question will be that, God forbid, if you've harmed yourself, if you've injured yourself, and it's not probably just coming back together again. So what do you do? What kind of things you really have to avoid, and what kind of things can actually help you get better?
Okay. So diabetes affect many organs of the body. In fact, every organ of the body, including the eyes, heart, lungs, liver, kidneys.
Almost every
Every
part.
organ, and it affects the skin as well. On the skin, it appears as one of the sign or symptoms of the diabetes. If you have unrecognized diabetes, some areas of your skin, especially around the neck, becomes darker in color, velvety, and especially in the neck, groin, and armpits.
Okay.
And there are some special arc-like lesions formed on the body, most prominently on the trunk. We call it as the granuloma annulare.
Okay.
And there are sometimes the brownish, yellowish, reddish patches formed on the front of the leg,
Okay.
which is known as, in medical terminology, necrobiosis lipodica.
Right.
And there
Necrobiosis
are
lepropodia.
You picked up it, right?
Yeah, only for once.
And there's some skin tags, that there's overgrowth of the skin on some areas of the body, and if you have that, then it can be removed from cautery or some other procedures.
Right.
And then what you can have, you can acquire fungal, viral, and bacterial infections easily if you are suffering from diabetes. And the one you talked about, if you acquire any injury or trauma to the foot, or especially foot, because these are the acral areas more prone to injury. Like if you are walking through and you just hit a table or something like that, it hurts badly even to a normal person. But what happens in the diabetes, they don't realize it, that their feet is injured, because they are facing the diabetic neuropathy. In that disease, what happens, that your blood vessels, due to high sugar levels, are being affected. So you don't have that sense that, okay, I have a pain here. Like if you have pain, it's a gift. We recognize and say, okay, there's something wrong and we should consult a doctor. We should do something about it.
So the
In that
areas become
condition-
numb, are you saying?
Yeah, that areas become numb and you become just painless. You don't recognize it, and that is converted into ulcer that gets enlarged. So you should, consult your doctor. Taking care of the feet is as important in diabetes as taking care of your face.
Okay.
You have to keep your feet clean
Okay.
and dry, smooth. If you have any callosities on it, just remove it gently, and just wear one size bigger shoes from your regular size. The main theme behind this
that's a
just
better
not
idea.
to get hurt because of it. Because if you don't have a good, shoe comfort zone, you can't walk properly, or you can acquire trauma more easily if the toes are, just tight in front of your shoes. And so for that purpose, dressings are done, painkillers are given,
Okay.
antibiotics are even given to avoid any kind of infections, and a good treatment is offered, and a good care should be taken so that ulcer is not enlarged and not converted into any carcinoma.
Exactly.
Thank you for saying that, Dr. Noreen, because a lot of these things I personally didn't even know, to be honest.
Yeah, and Shazad, there's this one more thing, and that is that due to negligence of people doctors actually had to amputate their feet or legs too as well, because of the fact that they didn't look
If it
after.
becomes systemic
and,
or
and,
gangrenic,
and it
yes.
kept on spreading too. So people, please make sure that you look after yourself. I think our guests over here are actually talking all about diabetes and how to actually look after it too as well. But now I wanted to come down to a point where I wanted to ask Dr. Anam, what kind of a lifestyle do you enjoy? Do you exercise? Do you work out? Do you diet? Or are all of these things not really for you now?
And especially, I want you to add on to, a lot of people I know who are suffering from diabetes, there's a specific, limitations on what they should take in and what not. So are there a lot of things that you used to like or enjoy eating that you cannot now?
All right, it's a perfect question, and thank you for asking it. Why? Because most of us, we believe that I cannot eat this, I cannot eat that. So this isn't the case. You can eat, but you have to have that portion control. It's just the case when we are on diet. So we need to have that portion control, that this is the right amount to be eaten, right? So similarly, if you are type 1, primarily I'm focusing on type 1. Why? Because they need more care, because you're insulin. In type 2, you still have insulin being produced in our body. So if you're type 1, so yes, I do eat a lot of things and I do exercise. It's like I exercise for about 30 to 45 minutes daily at my home, or going to gym, or going for swimming, or anything. If you like any sports, you can join that thing. Along with that, it's almost about carrying a glucometer with you when you go out. I'm a social person, so I go out with my friends, I eat what I want to, but I check my sugar levels before eating.
But where do you
it.
keep your insulin? Because it needs to be on a certain temperature,
Yeah,
right?
It is. Actually, in winters, we don't need any cooling bag.
Okay.
But otherwise, we do have cooling bags available in Pakistan. So you can use that cooling bag. You can keep your insulin with you wherever you go, in your office, with your friends, in your social circle. And there is one another important thing, you need to tell people about it. Why? Because what if, God forbid, you're going to suffer from hypo?
right.
So you need to tell people there is a fixed amount, that this is the amount of carb which I have to take in my hypo. Otherwise, you will lead into hyper. So it's just about managing, it's just about disciplining yourself.
Okay.
So along with that, you need to keep that hypo kit with you. And the far most important thing is to have a positive attitude that yes, I can fight with it.
And you know, which actually reminds me, I think I was in class 9th, again comes my story,
Yeah.
but there was a class full of mine who we did not, and not any of us didn't know that she was actually suffering from diabetes. So she used to wear a gold bracelet. So there was this one time she had a very low blood pressure, and I don't know, she was out of control, and she was not probably in the condition to even tell us what was going on. And that was when we discovered, the teacher actually discovered her bracelet, it said diabetic. And when then she found out, you know, but I
That's
think
a
it's
good
very,
way.
right? The parents sort of, you know, made it very clear for the people around her to help
When
her.
you're going from hypo, you become numb, you become confused, you lose your focus and your concentration, and you start mumbling you within. So that is the time that you immediately need something. So what I do, I carry juice with me, or biscuits with me, or some fiber, so that I
Or a
can eat
fruit,
something.
right?
Yeah, a fruit actually, but in that case, when you're going in hypo, you need something which can react in your body immediately. So a juice is something which is recommended, but with the right portion.
Well, very quickly, one last thing before we wrap up the show, and that is that I've seen a lot of people injecting insulin by themselves, because obviously you have to do it 4 times a day. You
Exactly.
gotta go to the doctor every time. So what are the most probable locations on your human body where you can inject insulin by your own self?
All right, so there are perfect locations. I usually do at my belly. So
Okay.
this is a perfect location which is being told by my doctor. Otherwise, you
And
can
it's
have.
safe.
Yeah, that's safe too. And it's not a big thing. You can use those insulin pens, syringes, injections, and
Just
even
put them
pumps.
anywhere.
Yeah, so even pumps are also available. And by the way, what I do is I go out and I take that insulin shot right in front of people, even if I'm traveling, even if I'm eating out. So it's all about your personal
Very nice.
confidence.
Yeah.
So just do it. And I would like to mention here the role of my peer support here again, that like I said, that Meethi Zindagi, we all are type 1s. We try to educate people. We try to tell them, inculcate that positivity in them, that yes, if we can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
And that was the reason that we took that scuba challenge, and we take such kind of challenges off and on.
Amazing.
So we would recommend that please, Insulin of Promise is our project, education, empowering you is our project. So please do refer us children if you have who cannot afford such kind of facilities.
Amazing that is. Dr. Noreen, do you want to say
Yeah,
something?
I would like to add
Sure.
something on it.
Quickly.
The specific sites for injecting insulin are lower abdomen and lateral sides of the thigh and the arms. And basically, it's injected subcutaneously. You have to first clean that area with the alcohol swab to have aseptic measures. Then you have to inject it at 90-degree angles into the subcutaneous tissue. Or if you don't have that syringe, you should pinch your skin. So it's raised 1 to 2 centimeters. You have just fat holding in your fingers, between your fingers, so you can just inject the insulin. And you should change the sides, because if you repeatedly inject at the same site, you can have atrophy, dystrophy, or some kind of allergy as well.
Great. Thank you very much
So
for
sorry,
being with
it
us.
sounds a bit scary, but this isn't
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. Okay, but thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. Where
Such
we
an
actually,
informative session.
Yeah, gave away a lot of information. But ladies and gentlemen, so towards the end, because in the beginning I was saying that it's a disease. So towards the end, obviously I'm convinced of the fact that it's a condition, and it's just like this. For example, think of this. So you've taken a bank loan to construct a house, and you'll be paying 50,000 rupees a month to get rid of the loan. So, and you'll have to do this for the next 30 or 40 years. So it's a condition. You'll start saving money. You were not going to spend that much. So by the end of the month, you can actually give 50,000 rupees to the bank. Same is the case with diabetes. You have to live with it, and you have to make sure that you actually save a little bit for your own self too as well, so that you can invest it later on. please make sure that you do not consider it a disease. It's just a condition.
Condition.
And it's all about your mindset.
And we're all here for you. And especially I want to sort of again endorse the initiative that Dr. Anam just
is
mentioned.
indeed, yes.
So if you do know any of the people who cannot afford the treatment or insulin, please, please, please refer to them. They're called Meaty Zindagi. You can find them on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Or probably you can write to us, and our Facebook fan page ID is
World This Morning.
on Twitter and Daily Motion.
World This Morning on Twitter without a G, and Daily Motion World This Morning.
And YouTube.
World This Morning.
And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
5 past 11 at night.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.